Alright. See if we can't find the stream. There's an old one. There's a new one. Voice chat. Oh, bloody Twitch chat. No way. Alright, audio is working as it should. Streams up, chats up, are all good to go. Well folks, we shouldn't be too far away from the start of the session. We're not set for a particularly big grid for tonight, which is quite disappointing. We've had a few people check out late. So, I think at the absolute most, we're set for 15. Just missing Jinbin in the Alfa Romeo and T-Mac in the McLaren. Once both of those drivers find their way in, we should be set to start. But for now, just chill out and wait for those to arrive. Once they do, we'll get on the way. Indeed, Blake. Qatar. Waited long enough. It's finally here for the official season. Unofficially, of course, this isn't the first race we've had at Qatar. Had this prologue, a prologue season to the one we're currently doing, where we had Formula 2 and Formula Endurance to race around here, 100% race. It's quite long. Qatar's a difficult track. If you somehow bend it, Blake, I'll give you props. Barriers are a fair way away. You can put it into a gravel trap though, that's not impossible. There are a few of those around the circuit, as you'd expect, with it being quite the well-known and well-loved motorcycle racetrack that it is. But now it's here in Formula 1, and it's here to stay too, for a while. So, we've got to get used to it. It's a tough racetrack, a driver's circuit. It'll be everyone's doing, Blake, in fairness. Track limits will be the biggest talking point, particularly in qualifying. I imagine it's going to play havoc a little bit. And the races, of course, will get track limit penalties, which will drastically change the shape of who finishes where in the final results. So. Alright, just gone past the start time. We're still missing two, so where are they? I think T-Mac did message that he was going to arrive a little bit late. I'll double check the chat. That's the check-in. Gotta find the chat. It appears that Jinbin is setting his wheel, and it appears that T-Mac might actually be a few minutes late, so he might pop up in the middle of qualifying. Alright. Wait patiently then for the ready up signal and get underway. Hopefully we're not far away. Gee whiz. Discord again, what's going on? Hey, you're not the only one, Blake. Yeah, you're not the only one. especially if you watch the Bathurst 1000. I imagine a few people are a bit drowsy after watching a 6-hour race. It wasn't the worst in the world, but it wasn't the most exciting Bathurst we've ever had. No practice for a track like this, yeah. Might not work out in your favour. I reckon a track like this you probably do need to run a few laps just to try and gauge. Just try and gauge yourself, get ready for what is going to be probably a fairly difficult night. Oh yeah, the lobby setting changed when no one jumped in. Alright. I'll be on my own for tonight as well in terms of the commentary. KD, he's out and about at the moment, so I'll be soloing it tonight. Yeah, no KD. He'll be back next week though. Yeah, HSC is so much fun. I remember doing that years ago. It was so much fun. Doing 3-hour exams. Good stuff. Unfortunately for me, I picked some pretty tough subjects. HSC turned into a bit of a nightmare as a result. Yeah, any tip for any high schoolers, particularly if you've got a HSC in your state, yeah, don't pick extension don't pick extension subjects. I did extension 1 and extension 2 mathematics ACW. In math there was sort of a couple of stages. You had general mathematics and advanced mathematics. I obviously did advanced. But above that, there are 2 extra extension courses that you can do. You can do Extension 1 and Extension 2. And I ended up doing both. I remember during the beginning of Extension 1, all the way back in Year 11, there were solid, I don't know, 15, 16 people in the class. There were a fair few of us. By the end of the year, there was only 4, and I was one of them. And when Extension 2 came around for Year 12, the class only had 3 people, of which I was one. And the mathematics we ended up doing in that class was... Look, it has no actual, general properties. It is pure mathematics at that point. So you got to really have your head in the game. And after a little bit, I just really couldn't... I enjoyed learning about the mathematics, but doing tests and stuff, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm the sort of person, if you sit me in front of a question, you don't pressure me, you give me enough time to just sit there and look at that, I will give you the correct answer. With all the proof, I can do all that. But you put a time limit on that, I just feel like you're just sort of wasting the question, so to speak. Because with some questions, in order to get it right, you just need to sit there and think about it. But with others, it was a little more difficult. Yeah, you see massive cuts in class size later in the year. Yeah, indeed, KD. See, that's some advanced mathematics right there. No, it's not nice. No. Not fun. I really do enjoy the learning of mathematics, as well as a lot of other subjects that I did, but when you put it under a time limit, it just removes all the enjoyment out of it. It puts you in the pressure cooker unnecessarily. Anyway, time for us to begin. Hello everyone and welcome to round 8 of the Elite Series here on Race Spec Esports. I'm Everingham, your commentator for this event, and for tonight we'll be competing at Losail International Circuit for the Qatar Grand Prix. One of the newest additions to the world of Formula 1, Losail International Circuit was constructed in 2004 and has a long, storied history in motorcycle Grand Prix racing. It would take until 2021 for Formula 1 to make its first appearance here, after which the circuit would get a lengthy 10-year contract starting from this year in 2023. This year would also mark its first appearance in an F1 game and mark the first time we're using it in Elite Series competition. The circuit measures up at 5.42 kilometers and consists of 16 corners and only a single DRS zone that leads into the primary overtaking spot of turn 1. Outside of the first corner, though, drivers will find it difficult to try and pass here. It's a proper driver's circuit because to be the very best around here, a driver must push right to the extremities, the limits of the racetrack. An inch out of line, though, you will be punished. We'll probably touch more on that during qualifying and during the races. With that in mind, qualifying should be extremely competitive once again. But before we focus on this session, there is a bit of news to go through first from last week's race in Canada. There were 2 incident reports, the first of which involving Eye Contrast, who has just rejoined the session, and CZK, who was second in the Drivers' Championship. Eye Contrast was rear-ended by CZK going into turn 1, and as a result, CZK got a whopping 10-second time penalty and 2 penalty points for causing a moderate collision. Similar story between Plevs and Jinbin. I believe the collision happens at turn 3. I think we might have caught it, actually, on the stream, maybe the tail end of it. The verdict from that was that Jinbin would receive a 10-second time penalty and 2 penalty points. So both Alfa Romeo drivers copping big penalties for collisions happening in that race. And as a result, CZK would move from P5 to P10, and his teammate Jinbin would move from P6 to P11 in the final results. Now, the last time I checked the standings, they weren't properly updated. They might be now. But Jack Humphreys is leading. He's got a decent margin as well of about 50 points. And that's without the alteration in the results. So I imagine now for Mr. Humphreys, he's going to have a really, really comfortable lead heading into this round of the championship. As well as that, this will be a sprint round, so we've got 2 races ahead of us. Got a 10-lap sprint and a 29-lap main race. So we're set for a fairly lengthy night here at Qatar. It's going to take a while for us to get through everything. We're a lot of drivers on intermediate tyres at the moment. Is there anyone on slicks? We've got a few on slicks. Who's the first? I want to get a slick lap. I don't want an intermediate lap. It's not going to give us a properly respective view of how fast this racetrack is. It appears that Matt Plevy is the first driver on the soft compound tyre. Might remove the tyre graphic for just a bit. But yeah, Qatar, fast racetrack. Very, very fast. And as I said, you have to use every little bit of racetrack around here. You have to use every single millimetre that you can find. But if you go over that little bit too much, the game won't hesitate. It will give you a penalty. So it's basically driving on a knife's edge during qualifying. Should be quite fun to watch. Now, Matt is taking his sweet time heading into the final corner. Mr. Race Spec will head on to the main straightaway and open DRS up towards the start line. We're right on board. Give you a guided tour of this 5.4 kilometre racetrack. Down into turn 1. Getting ready to brake hard here at the 50 board. Bring it down to 5th gear. Back on the power. Exiting the right-hander. We'll head up to the left of turn 2. Drop it down to 5th gear. Back on the accelerator. Almost instantaneously reaching full throttle as we go flat out through turn 3. Up into turns 4 and 5. These tricky 90-degree right-handers. Have to make sure you keep the car within the white lines. And Matt Plevy does exactly that. Round the hairpin at turn 6, a potential overtaking spot. It is quite difficult to pull it off though. Up into turn 7, this right-handed sweeper. Exiting in 5th gear, using all of the racetrack on the left as he goes through turns 8 and 9 and into the left of turn 10. 4th gear, eventually reaches full throttle. Heading up towards the triple right-handers of turns 12. Up towards turn 13. And then turn 14, the slowest of these 3 right-handers. 2 corners to go. Turns 15, and then the final turn, that is turn 16. Down to 4th gear. Oh, had to modulate the throttle a lot there. The car was stepping out of Plebs, but he managed to keep it under control. It wasn't Matt Plevy that was destined to set the first flying lap. It was actually Ryan Bell. I didn't quite pick up on that. Bell sets a 20.130. He is a long way clear of everyone else on the board. We've got drives on soft compound tyres. Matt Plevy sets a 21.113. It's only 3/10 off Bags Liddell, but it's 1 second of provisional pole position, which is currently being held by Ryan Bell. Riley McKay in the Mercedes here, making his way through the final sector. Turn 12, around turn 13, absolutely flat. Through 14 as well. You really have to hook it in hard. Hope that the front end sticks. Out of the penultimate corner, down towards the final turn. 7th gear. Dropping it down to 4th gear. Got onto full throttle quite early there. Used a lot of the outside curb as well. Riley McKay will head up towards the line. Set a 1 minute 20.245. He misses out on pole position. Provisional pole by a 1/10 of a second. Got T-Mac out on track. Same with Jinbin and Big Al. Oscar King. Seems that he's just done a run, but he's invalidated somewhere around the course. So his lap does not count. Ooh. High contrast. There we go. I don't know why that cut to the pits. I wanted to look at high contrast. He just set a lap. 1 minute 20.772. It's gone a little bit faster than Bags Liddell. It was a solid half a second off McKay in P2. Next car to go will be Jinbin in the Alfa Romeo. Copped a big old penalty at Montreal, which sent him outside of the top 10 in the final results. He'd be looking to bounce back here in Qatar. Got a lot of racing laps to do that as well. He heads onto the main straightaway. Opens DRS and barrels towards turn 1. Over 300 kilometers an hour. 310 indicated now. 315. Entering turn 1 at 319 kilometers an hour. I think 320 did pop up ever so briefly. Oh, using the full width of the circuit entering turn 2. Around turn 3, hugging the inside line. Utilizing the downforce that he has with his setup. Through turn 4. Awkward camera angle. We're quite a fair way away from the racetrack. Shows you how much runoff area there is. Very little of it is tarmac. We got a ton of gravel traps just everywhere, as you'd expect. It's a motorcycle racetrack by the intention of its design, so there's gravel everywhere. If someone manages to find the barrier, they've done a really, really good job. Round turn 10. Eventually reaches full throttle. We head up towards the triple right-handers. Incredibly reminiscent of Turkey's turn 8 at Istanbul Park. The amount of speed you can carry through there. Oh, mega. Through the penultimate corner, 6th gear. Such a rewarding feeling when you're hooking up a lap around a racetrack this fast. DRS open down the main straightaway and up towards the line for Jinbin. I wonder where he'd jump up to. P3 with a 20.540. T-Max invalidated. Al's coming towards the end of his first flying lap. The McLaren driver will set a 20.436. He overtakes Jinbin. He qualifies P3 with that lap. CZK getting ready. Same with Apollo Pepsi. Another 2 cars yet to set a lap time. Out to the final turn, onto the main straight. Almost invalidating there. It was only but a few inches away from invalidating this lap. He kept it within the white lines. That's the most important thing. Into turn 1. Utilising all of the curb on the outside of the right-hander. Similar story at the exit of turn 1-2. Up towards turn 3. Again, hugging that inside line. Up towards turn 4. Down to 5th gear. Short shifts up to 6th. Just got enough rotation as we head into the hairpin at turn 6. 3rd gear. Up to 4th. 5th gear. Then 6th. Breaking down to 5th gear. Down to 4th gear. Short shifts back up to 5th at the exit of turn 7. Round turn 8. Then 9. Up towards the left-hander of turn 10. 4th gear. Using plenty of the curb. We head around turn 11, that long left-hander. Then turn 12. Mercedes getting well out of the way. Round 13. Then 14. Up towards the penultimate corner. He invalidates. Just running a bit too wide at the entry of that curve. Put all 4 wheels over the white line, so this lap won't count. A shame. It was pretty tidy. CZK yet to invalidate, making his way through the final sector. Up towards the penultimate corner, 6th gear. Big understeer. He had a huge lift to try and get that front end turned in. 4th gear. Eventually reaches full throttle, keeping 2 wheels on the correct side of the white line. Riley McKay has just done... No, sorry. That wasn't McKay. Who was it that just jumped up? Somebody did a lap time. I didn't quite pick up on it. Maybe Ferrari Pro? Must have been. 1 minute 20.499. At the moment, half a second separating top 7. Also just under half a second, so pretty tight towards the front. Very respectable considering this track is over 5.5 kilometers long. Humphries now jumps to the top. Well, he set a brand new benchmark now, hasn't he? 1 minute 19.882. That's a new benchmark for everyone else to try and beat, to take pole position for the sprint race. Up towards the middle sector, split then for Riley McKay. The clock says he's up by almost 0.2 of a second, but he needs to find more time here in the final sector to try and challenge his teammate. 2 corners to go. Turns 15, then 16, utilising all of the racetrack there. Around the final curve, 4th gear. Bit of modulation, a bit wide as well, but the game's rewarded him. It hasn't invalidated his lap. Up towards the line now, it's a 20.041. It's a Mercedes AMG 1-2. See what Ryan Bell can do about that, eh? 6th gear, 7th gear, up towards turns 4 and 5. These 2 corners will complete the first sector. Clock says he's down, but not by much, by 24 thousandths of a second. Up towards turn 7. Braking hard, down to 4th gear, back on the power. Eventually reaches full throttle, 5th gear, 6th gear round turn 8. Then turn 9, 7th gear. Drops it down to 4th in 3 quick successive downshifts. That was insane. Bang, bang, bang. That was like a mid-2000s downshift. All in a row. Around the penultimate corner, turn 15. He's just within the white lines. He's bailed on the lap. He's not happy with it. Few movements with the steering wheel there. He's not happy with it. Eye contrast up. No, he's just improved actually. Improved by 0.3. 1 minute 20.467. 3 cars in the 20.4s at the moment. Oscar King failed to notice this. Red Bull driver has jumped up to P2. 1 minute 19.939. He's missing out on pole position by not much. Half a tenth separating the top 2. Matt Plevy, he's done a lap. He's improved to a 20.9. Got Jin Bin. Even... Oh, not quite even. Down by half a tenth in the first sector. Up towards the middle sector split. Up by 21,000. So he's set to improve by a little bit. But he needs to find more time to try and gain position. Can't throw his Ferrari Pro. He's half a tenth ahead. Up towards the final corner. Entering at 290 kilometers an hour, hitting in the apex at about 180. It's a very fast final turn. Jinbin will cross the line to set a 1 minute 20.364. He improves by 1 3/4 tenths of a second. He qualifies just behind his teammate, actually. As we're now closing in on 3.5 minutes left in the session. Got Apollo Pepsi, it seems, making his way out of pit lane, yet to set a lap time. So it's a smart idea to get out as early as you can. Give yourself as much time as possible to try and set a flying lap. Just in front of him is T-Mac as well in the McLaren. Currently just inside of the top 10 with a 1 minute 20.565. So these two will be the first two to attempt their final flying laps right at the end of this qualifying session. It appears that T-Mac just wants to let Apollo through, let the Alpine driver get on with it, it seems. The field spread, it ain't much. What's that, about 1.2 seconds, 1.3? Just about 1.3. It ain't much, as you'd kind of expect with a racetrack as fast as this. Taking nice and steady, riding the brake, holding the accelerator, just trying to maintain carcass temperatures. Apollo wants to let T-Mac through. Oh, we all just being gentlemanly out here tonight at Qatar. Oh, you go through. Oh, you go through. Being very nice, very respectful. Alrighty then, T-Mac. See what you can do. Full charge in the bank. Switch on the battery soon. There we go. Around the final corner, 4th gear. Eventually reaches full throttle. Below the DRS. But down towards turn 1. Begin his final flying lap. With just under 2 minutes left in this session. So he has enough time. If he makes a mistake on this lap, he can back the car off a little bit. And he can have another go. Round turn 2. And the right of 3, up towards turn 4. 7th gear, chucking it in. 5th gear, short shifts to 6th. Back down to 5th gear, back up to 6th. Clock says in the first sector he's up. Not by a huge amount, but he's up by 25 thousandths of a second. Meanwhile, we got Bell and Humphreys beginning their final flying laps. The first of these drivers to attempt one is Bell. Keep an eye on him. Keep an eye on his first sector split, shall we? Round turn 4, round turn 5. Clock says to the first sector. He's up by a decent chunk, by 2.5 tenths. Humphreys in response, he's up by 76 thousandths. McKay's getting ready for a run as well. Actually, no, he's in the middle of a run. Excuse me. Heading up towards the first sector split. Clock says he's up by almost 2 tenths of a second. Bell heading up towards the middle sector split. Clock says he's up by 2 tenths, so he's actually lost a little bit of time. Humphreys, he's about even to his PB at this point. What about McKay? He heads around turn 11, then around the flat-out left-hander that is turn 11. Turn 10, then 11. Up by 2 tenths of a second there for McKay. So both Mercs are on pretty decent flying laps. T-Mac retires from the session. Ryan Bell crosses the line. It's not enough for pole. What about for Humphreys? He improves to a 7.40. What about his teammate, though? Onto the main straightaway. He runs wide. He doesn't invalidate. DRS open. Down the main straight. Up towards the line. McKay, it's good enough by 1,000th of a second. Can anybody respond, though? We've got a few cars still out on track. Oscar King, the Red Bull driver, heading up towards the middle sector split. He's up by almost a tenth. He needs to find exactly 2 tenths to try and beat McKay. So we need to find another tenth here in the final sector. Down towards the final corner for Oscar King. Gets on the brakes hard, down to 5th gear, back on the power, and eventually reaches full throttle. DRS open. Foot to the floor. Is it enough for pole position? The answer is yes! He's taken it! By not much, but he's taken it by 28 thousandths of a second. And I think, unless someone can pull a blinder on me, no, he's invalidated. He would have done a 20.1. That would have been good enough for P7. Matt Plevy, he goes back into pit lane. What a scrap. Right at the end of qualifying, the top three separated by bugger all. 29 thousandths of a second. Bell, I assume, would be pretty disappointed. That's a fast lap of 19.9, but I reckon he felt that he could challenge for pole position. He was up by a huge amount in the first sector. There we go. Well done, Oscar. Just thinking about it. It's funny. Another bloke named Oscar put it on pole position for a sprint race yesterday. Didn't they? What a lovely coincidence that is. There we go. Oscar King puts it on pole position. 28 thousandths of a second separating the top two. Riley McKay starting alongside King on the front row. We have Jack Humphrey starting P3, followed by Ryan Belden CZK. Bags Liddell P6, followed by F1 Ferrari Pro, Jen Ben Spicer. High Contrast rounds out the top 10. We have Big Al Blake Stevenson, T-Mac, Apollo Petsy and Matt Plevy starting from the back in 15th position. 1.2 seconds separating the field at the end of qualifying. So kind of as you'd expect. Tight quali. Quite fun to watch, particularly at the end there. Sprint race time. Alright. 10 lap sprint race. And I wonder, if we're going with similarities to what's happened in real life, got an Oscar in pole position. Will we have a bit of a mix-up in terms of tyre strategy? Is that something that we did see in the real-life race? We had some on mediums, we had some on the soft tyre. Will these guys do the same, or will it be a general consensus and everyone starts on the mediums? There was Brock there. Not much separating the top three. And you got to remember as well, the track's 5.5 kilometers long, 16 corners, and they were separated by 0.03 of a second, all three of them. Not much. Not much. I'll give credit to those guys. They are incredibly fast, and they're very good. They're very, very good at what they do. It's always a lot of fun to watch. Curious to see how this sprint is going to pan out. Well, let's find out. We have 5 red lights. We're underway here at Qatar. It's a nice start for King. An even better one for Humphries, though, as he tries to split through the middle. Bell looking down the inside. Can't find a way through. It's tight between the leaders. Can King hang on to the lead, or will Humphries go round the outside at turn 2? He now has the inside line at turn 3. He gets in front. King still alongside, heading towards turn 4. But Humphries with the dominant position moves into the race lead. Riley McKay now moves down to 4th place. Behind him is CZK. Got a lot of defending going on here at turn 6. 2 wide, 3 wide action towards the back of the pack as we head around turn 7. Down the inside, looks Big Al on eye contrast as we fly through this S section of sorts, heading towards turn 10. Everyone just sorting themselves out, and they eventually do. But it's Humphries who leads in the Merc on the soft tyre. Yeah, seem to be doing similar things between stuff in real life and stuff here in the virtual world. A Mercedes leads on the soft tyre in the sprint race here at Qatar. onto the main straightaway. Gap sits at 8.5 tenths between the top two, and Bell's looking for more. Slipstreaming by the Red Bull down the main straightaway towards turn 1. Bell gets in front, moves into P2. Oscar sitting in third now, followed by McKay, CZK, then Ferrari Pro, bags Liddell, I Contrast, Big Al, and then Stevenson rounds out the top 10. And you look at that as well, Humphries is the only driver on the soft compound tyre, so it was pretty much a general consensus between everybody. A lot of them wanted to start on the mediums, but Humphries decided to go against the grain. He's on the softs. I'll be very curious to see if that pays off. If it does, then yeah, you'll look like a genius. Incredibly tight midfield pack here. Everyone line astern, only 2 or 3 tenths behind one another. Bit of a gap forming between Contrast and Big Al. See it there, it sits at 6 tenths of a second. As we head towards the final turn. Back onto the main straight. In terms of position changes, the driver who's gained the most is Apollo Pepsi. From 14th on the grid, they're up to 11th. Fair few drivers up 2 positions. Biggest losers is Jinbin and Sebastian Spicer. They're both down 4. Out of turn 1, heading towards turn 2. Won't see a lot of battling, I imagine, for a little bit. DRS is now enabled as it's lap 3. But again, the drivers can only use it down the main straightaway. And just about everybody's going to have it. Actually, everyone will have it except for Humphries. Oh, a bit of a moment there for Apollo. Out of turn 6. Huge sideways moment, but he managed to catch it and only lose 1 position. He moves down to 12th. Out in front, Humphries leading the way. 6 tenths in hand. As his gamble to start on the soft tyre paid off. Don't know. Because he's not pulling away. No way, no how. With the help of DRS, Bell has a genuine shot here of trying to go for the lead. Let's see how much time he gains on this straight. DRS open. Bring up the telemetry. 280, 290, 300 kilometers an hour, 310, 315. Big lift. Bell doesn't go for the move. He stays behind the Merc. Evidently, Bell's got a plan and he's going to stick to it. Doesn't want to pass the silver arrows just yet, or the black arrows in this case. Around turn 5 towards turn 6. What's Humphries' battery looking like? Well, that's telling. Humphries, he's playing a game himself. He's not pushing. He hasn't dumped his battery on the first 2 laps. Perhaps he's trying to drive conservatively on those tyres to make sure they can get through the 10 laps in relatively one piece. But maybe he's going to play some DRS games himself. This is going to be a fascinating duel at the front. We've got some big brain operators here, Humphries and Bell. They're smart as well as they are quick. Let's see what kind of games they play. And Oscar, he's not far behind. How will he play himself into this? Bell closes in. It's too close now to back off, so he goes through, but here comes King. And he gives him a little bump. Helps him along. Says to Ryan, I don't want to lead, mate. You take the lead. I'll move into second. So Humphries down to third. But he's got all that battery. Yellow. We have Apollo in the wall, and that's a safety car. Look, the yellow dot's coming out of the pits. That is a safety car. Oh, what did the drivers do? Will some of them pit? I imagine some towards the back here might pit. Because why not? You've got nothing to lose from this position. What about the front runners? Surely you'd stay out and just keep the track position you've got. And that would be the most important thing. And that's a shame for Apollo. He will have to pit regardless of strategy. He's got to fix that front wing. Oh, it's actually still got a few pieces of end plate left on the car. Look at that, it's got a mini wing. Looks like a set of those X-Wings they used to have in the 90s. Those hideous abominations that they were. Yeah, look at that. Mini wings. Alright. Keep an eye on the cars in front, just briefly. Got someone coming in, it's Humphreys. Interesting, so one of the leaders has elected to pit. It looks like Spice is coming in, as well as T-Mac, and of course Apollo. This is a big old gamble from Humphreys. But what this has allowed him to do is give himself a license to push like buggery from here to the end of the race. We won't have a lot of laps of racing left, but he will be allowed to push. I don't know. It's an interesting call from Jack. I'm going to be very fascinated to see if he can actually pull that off. As Apollo comes out with a grown-up wing attached to his car, he's down in 15th position. So yeah, everyone from 12th downward on the softs, top 11 on the mediums they started on. Right. Got some strategies, got some games going on. Quite fascinating to watch. With that pit stop shuffle, let's rearrange the position somewhat. We've got Bell up 3, King down 1, same with McKay. CZK upper place. We have Ferrari Pro up 2, Bags Liddell. He's remained where he qualified in P6. I contrast Al and Stevenson all up 3, Jinbin down 2. Still inside the top 10, and here in Race Spec you need to finish inside the top 10 in order to score points in the sprint, so he's in a decent enough position. We've got Matt Plavy up 4 places, but he is going to be the first car that all these guys have to try and face. Humphrey, Spicer, T-Mac and Apollo, they're all on soft compound tyres. And they're going to be very fast. Appears that we're going to do one more lap behind the safety car, which will mean there will only be 3 laps of running. Which also means the only time they get DRS is the final run, the very final run, heading down the main straightaway. So if they want to pass, they've got to do it the old-fashioned way. Get a big load of slipstream and try and dive bomb it wherever you can. That's all you can really do without DRS. Yeah. It's a long lap Losail, especially when you're stuck behind the safety car. See all the dark abyss around the racetrack. You can see the lit up sections, but beyond that there's a stretch of road and then nothing. It's just abyss. The void. Still an issue with the lighting in this game though. And this wasn't a problem in previous F1 titles, but you can see the graining with the lighting. It's awful. This happens in nighttime races. It's not just Qatar specific. It happens at Bahrain. It happens at Abu Dhabi. It happens at any racetrack where it goes to nighttime conditions. You can see that sort of hazing with the light. It's not a nice look, and I haven't found anything to try and fix that. So. But it hasn't been a problem in literally any of the previous titles. Safety car in this lap, So Bell takes control of the field. The Aston Martin safety car will go back into its natural habitat inside the pit lane. We'll wait on the race leader to get us back under green flag conditions. Got Bell at the front, King in P2, McKay P3. Oh, just this tiny, teeny-weeny touch. Bell's playing it patiently, sitting at 80. When does he go? Third gear. He's getting ready to go soon. Fourth gear. Well, a bit wide. That's probably a warning. I wouldn't doubt it. He's got 7/10 in hand already. As we're back under green flag conditions here at Qatar. Side-by-side action between CZK and McKay. McKay having a look down the inside of King. Also defending from CZK. Side-by-side action between Liddell and I Contrast as we head towards turn 2. Tight stuff as Al tries to sneak on through. Can't find a way through. He stays in P8. Meanwhile, back here we got Humphreys trying to make his way through. He gets by Jinbin. That's for P10. His next target will be Stevenson as Plevy drops down to 15th place already. Round the outside here at turn 7. Utilising the grip of those soft tyres, he hits Stevenson. The Williams is loose and drops down to P13 as a result. Just in front of Apollo and battling with Jinbin. Side-by-side action between Contrast and Humphreys as we head through turn 10. Humphreys gets in front. Spicer goes round the outside. Gets in front of T-Mac and of Big Al. So those soft runners, look at them gain. They were the final 4 cars in the pecking order. They're now in P6, P9, P10 and 12 respectively. They've carved their way through. They are not mucking around. Down the inside goes Spicer on Contrast. Contrast cannot fight back. Not with the grip that those tyres provide. Humphreys makes his way through on Ferrari Pro. 2 laps to go. 4 more places to get for Humphreys. But they get oh so difficult to get now. Because these guys are good operators. They know how to attack. But importantly, they know how to defend. Behind. Spicer gets through on Liddell. Liddell, I believe, just letting him through. I think his teammate through. Down the inside goes T-Mac. Liddell leaves room. Can't quite get the job done. Humphreys has moved up to P4 as well. T-Mac round the outside here at turn 7. Can he get in front? Yes, he can. That's P8. Cars flowing their way through 9 and 10. There's your race leader. The 2 Mercs change places. Humphreys is up to 3rd. 2 cars left as we head through the final sector. It's Bell, then King, then Humphreys on a charge on the soft tyre. Towards the final corner. Won't be any DRS assistance here. Onto the main straight. This is it. It all comes down to this. Bell leads from King in 2nd. Humphreys on those soft tyres, looking rapid. It's the final lap. He looks to the inside here at turn 1. King can't fight it. Humphreys is through into P2. Now it's down to Bell to try and hang on. Is it possible? Round turn 3. Up towards turn 4. Got 22% battery. Bell's got 40%. That extra 20% may prove to be critical if Bell can hang on to the lead here. Humphreys to the inside. They're side by side at the exit. Bell has the inside line heading into turn 7. But Humphreys doesn't care. He's sending it round the long way. Round turn 8. Up towards 9. They're still wheel to wheel. Then to turn 10. Humphreys trying to fight down the inside. But Bell just has enough momentum to keep the race lead. Only just though. But now King's back in this. Same with McKay. But there's an important factor that all of these guys have to be aware of. Whoever's at the front of this queue at the DRS detection zone won't get DRS down the main straight. This man will though, surely. There it is, there's the DRS indicator. I think Bell's blown it. DRS open, up towards the line. It's going to be tight, very tight. Humphreys wins it by a hair. by 0.006 of a second. I underestimated how quick that Alpine was going to be down the main straight. I thought the Merc was going to breeze on by, but damn near Bell almost hung on. Humphries, what a comeback through the field. Winning the sprint by the square root of bugger all. 0.006 of a second. Separating the top two at the end of the sprint. What a drive from Humphries on those soft tyres. Carved his way through, back to the front. Winning the sprint here at Qatar. Bell second, Oscar King in third, followed by CZK. Spice on those soft tyres. Same with T-Mac, P5 and P6 in the points. Then we have Ferrari Pro, McKay, Bagsadell, and Apollo scores a point. It proved then, at that halfway mark, the way to go was to move on to the soft tyre. They were that much faster. There you go. Lessons learned. What a tight finish. I thought the speed difference was going to be a lot more obvious between the Merc and the Alpine down that main straight. But man, Bell, he dumped every bit of battery he had left down that main straight. And that thing was almost fast enough to win. Almost. Only just missing out. What a finish. Alright, time for the main race. Sprint out of the way. Now into the big boy race. 29 laps these guys have to try and negotiate. It's a long, long race. But as the sprint proved, it's evidently not impossible to have a safety car at some point. It's not impossible. And if we do have a safety car, I wouldn't be surprised if that completely turned things upside down. Here we go then, for the second time. We have 5 red lights. And we're underway once again at Qatar. It's a good start from Humphries and Bell on the front row. As we head down towards turn 1. Bell with the inside line, heading into the opening right-hander. Takes the lead. CZK trying to make his way through. The McLaren and Red Bull side by side as T-Mac tries to get P4 around the outside of turn 2. Can't get it done though. King hangs on to 4th. Further back side-by-side action as we head towards turn 4. McKay trying to hang on to P7 it seems. Defending from Ferrari Pro as we head down into turn number 6. Big move there down the inside from my contrast in the Aston Martin to try and get by Stevenson in the Williams. Now round turn 7. Stevenson trying to hang on. Plevy and Jinbin battling away. Hopefully it doesn't result in the way that it did last week in Montreal. Stevenson on the outside. Can he get the over-under? Not quite. So contrast moves into P12 then. No, Stevenson down to P14, P15 almost as Jinbin goes round the outside. Takes position away from the Williams driver. He moves down to 15th in last place. Out in front though it's Bell and he's on the softer tyre this time around. He's on the mediums compared to Humphries on the hard tyre. As a matter of fact, everyone's on the hard tyre except for Ryan Bell. It is almost identical, completely identical to what we had in the sprint. Fascinating. McKay moves through into P6, overtaking Sebastian Spicer. The AlphaTauri driver moves down to 7th. Out of turn 2 and around turn 3, up towards turn 4. Bit of a weave there from King. Maybe trying to break away from T-Mac. Maybe trying to put off the Malaysian, that is CZK. At the moment, everyone's holding firm. I think everyone's gone through the opening lap jitters quite well. In terms of position changes, got a couple, no sorry, 3 up 2. We got McKay, Contrast and Plevy, they're all up 2 positions. Those who have lost 2, we have Spicer, Jinbin and Stevenson. So no massive amounts of movement anywhere across the board, but we have little movements here and there. onto the main straightaway as we go through this final corner. The gap sits at 6.5 tenths. Humphries won't mind that. I don't think Bell will mind it either. He might try and deploy a similar strategy to what Humphries was going to try and do in the sprint. Play these DRS games. I'm sure he's quite happy just leading right now. Up towards turn 4. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of this line of stern stuff for a while. I don't think the drivers will be pushing as hard as they were in the sprint. A lot more time to set up a good race here in the main event. You're better off just being patient for a little bit. Try and set yourself up for the long run, which a lot of people have evidently done, considering that almost everybody is on the hard compound tyre, so they're all ready for a long opening stint. Bell, on the other hand, on an alternate strategy. Oh, that might have been a warning. Definitely used a lot of the racetrack. Oh. Same there at the final corner. Humphries, half a second behind. Not close enough to do anything here. T-Mac under a little bit of pressure from McKay, who looks down the inside of turn 1. Ooh, he almost made contact. Round turn 2. So McKay moves into P5. T-Mac down to 6th. No one here in the midfield able to do anything just yet. Big Al's lost a little bit of ground here. 1.2 seconds behind. Needs to try and get back within that 1 second range. Can't afford to not be in it. It might be only one DRS zone, but it's a game changer because of how long it is, how effective it is. And there we go. Al's now back within that 1 second range. So every single driver in the field right now is separated or no greater than 1 second. Everyone. Quite impressive. Ah, wow. Damn it, Matt. Oh, ruined it. Oh, he's wide. So is Genbin. That's a 3-second time penalty then for Matt Plevy. And he won't have DRS assistance either. Genbin will close in. And he's got the battery turned on. You can see it on the wheel. Simple move. Genbin into 13th. Round turn 1. Matt hugging that inside line. Round turn 2. Genbin missing the apexes a little bit at turn 2 particularly. He's about maybe a foot away from the apex at 2. Saw Matt close in a little bit mid-corner, but Genbin as a result got a pretty decent exit. Or Matt got close on the brakes, and as a result he loses time on exit. Half a second behind. Stevenson directly behind him. Genbin now a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so yeah, this is going to become a pretty common theme, I imagine, between basically everyone in the lobby. We're going to see time penalties. It's going to be similar in a way to Montreal. Around a racetrack like that, you do see a lot of time penalties just pop up absolutely everywhere. Here at Qatar, it's no different. Onto the main straightaway. Oh, geez. That didn't look great. Lost half a second because of that. Stevenson now gets a penalty. So the final 3 cars in the current order, they've got 3-second time penalties. We've got an aerial shot here looking down into turn 1. Bell leading the way. Spice has just moved into P6, overtaking T-Mac. Sector 1 yellows. What's happened to Al? He's around at turn 1. Did he have help? Did he do it on his own? I reckon he might have had help. He's now down in 15th position. 6.1 seconds behind Stevenson. A lot of catching up to do. Here are your leaders. Half a second separating the top two. Have a look at the battery life, shall we? 89% for Bell, 75 for Humphreys, 30 for CZK. King's on 76, McKay on 28. So Bell, Humphreys and King, they've been able to save up their resources pretty well in the opening stint. For both CZK and McKay, they've got battery in hand. Got a little bit in their back pocket, but they need more. They need to try and stay off the battery button as best they can. Try and set a string of really consistent laps without it being switched on into overtake mode. Try and save up that battery if they can. Humphreys closing in on the race leader. Not by enough to attack for the race lead though. Meanwhile, Jim Ben gets by Contrast. Fairly straightforward move, as you'd expect. Oh, a bit of a wiggle though from Contrast and Apollo. He's around again at turn 1. It's an identical accident, except there's substantially less damage. Yeah, thank goodness the ghosting system was working. Otherwise, that would have been a humongous accident. So yeah, an end plate missing on Apollo's car. He'll have to pit in and get that fixed. Yep, same spot. Almost looked like it ended up in the same position as well. Had the same camera angle. Only difference being there's, like I said, substantially less damage. It's only an end plate missing. 3/10 separating the top two. Humphreys buried in the slipstream. Heading around the left-hander at turn 15. Up towards turn 16. Will he finally go for a move? I reckon he's close enough to. But maybe he's playing a different sort of game right now. Not using any battery. And he switches off DRS. See it there. You could hear it as well. That beep indicating that the DRS has been switched off. Ferrari Pro getting by on T-Mac. T-Mac unable to fight back through turn 2. So Ferrari Pro up into 7th. Apollo's in for repairs. Front wing change in mediums. And bolted on the car. There we go. Teammate meanwhile continuing to lead the way. 90% battery. 87 for Humphreys. 35 for CZK. What about Riley? So both CZK and Riley, they've been able to save up a bit of battery. They've been able to just try and set some nice consistent laps without needing to switch it on. Good for them. They need to try and save up as batteries as best they can. Yeah. The guys they're battling with, they got a lot of battery. A lot of damn battery. Crossing the line, 3/10 in hand. And again, the DRS, it's shut. Right, I'm going to run out of fuel, eh? Well, that is an issue around here, isn't it? That's something I kind of forgot about. That's how long I haven't raced here. You have to put in a metric tons worth of fuel in the car, don't you, around here at Qatar? Because for whatever reason, the programmers over at Codemasters elected to make this a very high fuel consumption racetrack. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. You need a lot of fuel in the car. Let's have a look at his wheels, shall we? Oh, 0.7. Yeah, that probably anywhere near enough. Not at this stage. You want more fuel than that. 0.7 won't be enough. Compare that to Humphreys here. He's running 3.02 over. That's a huge difference. That's 2.3 laps difference in terms of fuel. So if that's the case, yep, 0.7, that's not enough. Bell needs a safety car at some stage during this race, as iContrast gets a 3-second time penalty. Yeah, no, completely forgot about that. You need a lot of fuel. What about the others? CZK, 2 laps over. 2 laps over for King. 1.8, I think that says, for McKay. Spicer, 1.7. 1.6. Ferrari Pro, T-Mac. 1.7. 2.3. That's Bags Liddell. Change of position. The contrast gets by Matt, who understeers wide at turn 5. Jinbin, 1.2, he might be in a bit of trouble. 1.9 for Stevenson. 2.4 for contrast. 1.2 for Matt, as he gives himself another pen. 2.4 for Al. 1.8. I think that's 8.1, 8.2. So Bell easily has the least amount of fuel by about half a lap. It's on the steering wheel, Brock. There's a little... If you pay attention to the MFD, in the top right of the MFD, there are 2 sets of numbers, one in white and one in grey. The one in grey is what I'm looking at. And what it is, it's a plus or minus indicator to see how much fuel you have over or under the amount you need in order to finish the race. Now it's very small, and I have to kind of squint in order to try and see it, which is why I read them out loud, because it's probably impossible to see them on stream. But that's where I'm getting that information from. You're right on board, and you pay attention to their little MFD on the steering wheel, or in the case of the Williams, on the chassis, as Spicer gets a 3-second time penalty. The numbers are super tiny. Half the time I confuse 8s with 0s, and yeah, it's not fun. But it's one source of information you can try and find in spectator view, because obviously there's nothing here to tell you how much fuel they're running. You got the telemetry, but that only tells you how much battery they've got, the speed they're at, the revs, the gear. That's about it. Oh, and their throttle and brake inputs, which is probably the biggest thing, is the throttle and brake inputs. Oh, and yeah, the battery. Everyone wants to know how much battery everyone's got. But in terms of fuel, yeah, Bell's in trouble. He's in big trouble. Now Humphreys takes the lead, and Al gets a time penalty. We've got a few runners in. We've got Bags Liddell in, as well as iContrast. This is something Bell has to do. He has to get in behind someone, harness the DRS down the main straightaway, and maybe try and lift it coast if he can. Either that or gamble it all out for a safety car at some point. So we have Liddell mediums, Contrast on mediums, back up towards the front. Apollo now, 3-second time penalty. Yeah, we're going to see a lot more of those over the course of the night. We're going to see a lot more. So yeah, that's a bit of a game changer then for Bell. Not sure if he just overlooked the fuel or he deliberately went a bit lower. Perhaps in anticipation for a safety car. But yeah, he's not looking great. And look at Humphreys. 1 second already. Starting to stretch his legs. Pull away. Bell, does he pit? He does. So what's the game then for Bell? Is it a 1-stop or a 2-stop? Surely it's a 1-stop. He would have to pit onto hards. Do a lot of laps on them. 17. Softs. It's a 2-stop. McKay's out there now on a set of mediums. Yeah, a lot of guys committing to this 2-stop run then. Fascinating. Soft tyres for Bell. So I'm guessing then he's doing... Well, he's already used a set of mediums in the sprint. I'll be curious to see what kind of strategy Bell goes with. His first target to try and get by is Big Al. Down the inside here at turn 4. Gets in front pretty easily there. Very little resistance. As you'd expect, Al's on bad tyres as Bell. Well, he's not doing himself any more favours. That's his first penalty of the night. Now has 3 seconds next to his name. One too far. McKay goes round the outside of Big Al. He moves into P7. Anyone else? Oh, little correction in the steering there for Al. And big understeer. This McLaren doesn't look too good. Ah, that was a bit closer. With that camera angle, you could actually clearly see how much fuel Al had then. He had 2.2 over with that sort of headrest shot that we had. Alright. Mediums. Spicer stays out. You're going to try the one-stopper then? One would assume so. There goes Bell. Here comes McKay. And we have Humphries, CZK and Oscar King just behind. His bags of Dell sets a new fastest lap. 23.835. The lap time he's done. Stevenson just getting in front of Jinbin as well. Yeah, a bit of shuffling as you'd expect after a pit rotation. Fresh tyres really do make a difference on outlaps. They make a huge difference in F123. Always a good idea to pit early if you want to try and gain some track position right here, right now. But of course you have to deal with the consequences later on of having a worse tyre. And even that 1 lap difference, it does make a minute difference. Humphries just trying to nibble his way into that 1 second range so he can try and close in on his teammates. He's almost got there. Hasn't quite got there yet. He used up a bit of battery and he doesn't get there. So he won't get DRS on this lap, but he should have a big enough gap to the car behind that he won't be challenged for position. And he'll still be naturally closing in on McKay as Bell sets a new fastest lap at 22.3. Time he's done. Stevenson. There goes Jinbin round the outside. Couldn't do much about that. Just left the racing line open. Let the Alpha through. What more can you do, really? All you can do now is just stick with him and try and get him back on the next lap. Humphries and CZK in this nice train. 4 seconds in front is Ryan Bell. As we've established, thanks to Mr. Potsy in the chat, Bell's got a big fuel problem. He's got a battery problem too. He spent all of it. He's got 0. And he's got some back. He's used every bit of battery, pushing as hard as he damn well can. Catching up to Sebastian Spicer, quite the rate of knots. Here comes Humphries. Matt Plevy gets another time penalty. Humphries will take 3rd. CZK, will he have a go? Down the inside of turn 1. It's tight, real tight. But both drivers get through unscathed. Riley hangs on to 4th. CZK maintains 5th. Just behind them is Oscar King. There he is there in the Red Bull. 1.6 seconds behind. So if these guys really start to dice up, battle each other hard, he'll get involved, that's for sure. Ferrari Pro on soft compound tyres like Ryan Bell. Trying to close in on Bags Liddell. 7th place as Apollo gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Only a few drivers left that haven't got penalties. P3 down to P9 to be exact. All 7 drivers yet to get a time penalty. Ferrari Pro's really closing in here on the AlphaTauri. Spicer gets past for the race lead. I think Seb's coming into pit lane. He is. Bell gets a 3-second time penalty. He's done that at the exit of the final corner. So evidently he's run wide. Having a brief look down the inside there, Ferrari Pro. Doesn't fully commit. We'll try and set one up though. Flashing red lights at the back of both cars. They're low on batteries. So is T-Mac. They're all running low. As Spicer, you'll put on mediums and you'll try and carry those to the end of the race. Nice aerial shot. Looking down at these three, P, 6, 7 and 8 battling away. Then we've got these three, P, 2, 3 and 4. They're actually closing in on Bell. He's 1.9 seconds ahead. Let's see if we can't see how much fuel Bell's got. Oh, wrong one. Yeah. 0.11 is what he's got. So yeah. Yeah, it's not looking good. It's really not looking good for Bell. Oh, a big old wiggle. He's going in. He's in. Oh, he's bumped the wall. So a brief stint. What does he do? Set of mediums? Set of softs? Another set of softs? So what, is he just going to run around on soft tyres for as long as he can? Just sort of hope for the best? Is that his game? Is that all he's trying to do? Because honestly, I wouldn't know what to do in that kind of situation. You can't chuck it into a different fuel mode to try and save up. That's no longer a thing. But yeah, he's just running around now. He's hoping, praying that a safety car comes out. I reckon he'll probably keep touring pit lane to try and maybe save some fuel. And the moment he goes a lap down, he'll probably retire. I think that's just kind of the situation he's got right now. I don't really know what he can do, so just keep running around and try and get to the minimum lap requirement. I mean, let's see, 90%, 29. Oh, bag, steering me, mate. Oh, and I think Stevenson got one. McKay, what's happened here? Yellow's out. No, it's not. It's who is that? Is that Stevenson? He's around at the penultimate corner. Wing damage on the Williams. He gets going again. I thought it was McKay. He tumbled down the order when the yellow came out. In terms of why he underfueled, there could be a few reasons. One of which is, yeah, sort of anticipating a safety car at some point. But another thing, he could have just forgotten. I think we've all done that at some point where, you know, we wanted to change something and we accidentally click X or something, and it's like, oh my god, I forgot to change this, I forgot to change that, and you're now just sort of stuck with it. He could have done it just by mistake. But in terms of a strategical perspective, let's say Bell deliberately underfueled the car, then yeah, that will be in anticipation for safety cars. But there hasn't been one yet, and when the leader crosses the line, it'll be 10 laps to go. So we're running out of laps for a safety car to even take place. So it's not done at the front yet either. In terms of telemetry, Matt Plevy, 3-second time penalty. CZK has got 16% battery. What about Humphries? Ah, he's got 62. Yeah, I figured he'd have a fair bit more. Well, look, for CZK, the only thing he can do is stay within that 1 second range of Humphries. And try as best as you can to save up as much battery as possible. That's really all CZK can do at this point. We know, and he will know, how quick Humphries will be. So just stick with him. Stick with him as best you can. Stay within that 1 second range. Maybe pray for a mistake. And it doesn't have to be a big one either. It can be a missed apex. It could be running wide. Could be anything. If he stays within that 1 second range, he keeps himself in the fray. But Jack will know that. So Jack, at the appropriate point, he's going to turn everything on and try and drive away from CZK. He's got the battery to do that. He obviously won't do it now because it is a tad bit early to do something like that. Because if you dump it all now, and then CZK or somebody is able to get a run back on you, then you got nothing left in reserve to try and fight with. So timing it is important. Timing when to bolt is very important. And right now, CZK can't do anything to try and get by Humphries. CZK can apply pressure, but in terms of actually getting in front, it doesn't really look like it's possible. He's a bit closer now than what he was the lap before. But we'll probably see over the course of this lap, Humphries will pull away every, a few hundredths here, half a tenth there. And the gap will increase to about, 7/10, maybe 7.5. Perhaps towards the end of the lap. Currently sitting at 5.5. Because, yeah, Humphries has got this Merc all hooked up right now. And CZK, he can't match him. Closed in a little bit here. So perhaps CZK running with a slight extra downforce. Try and get some extra speed around those right-handers. 6/10. I was a 10.5 off. The CZK, he will gain time down this straight. Won't gain enough to try and challenge the race leader. It's a fascinating little strategy game here. Sort of all revolving around that DRS zone down the main straight. Because it appears to me as well, as we've got a few other drivers coming in, their second stops. CZK is a tad bit slow, a bit wide of the apex there as well. Look, it's cost him time. It cost him about a tenth. CZK can't quite match Humphries on the twisty bits. He did gain time though through the triple right-hander, which did surprise me a little bit. So he's able to gain a bit of time there. 7/10. There you go. See if he gains time again. 6/10. 6.5. 6. So drop to 5. Not quite. So CZK, he's pretty good through that particular part of the racetrack. But elsewhere, Humphries is able to gain a tenth, 2/10, which is enough to keep CZK at bay. Importantly, though, for the Alfa Romeo driver, you can see he's saving up battery. It's up to 36%, 65 for Humphries, so he's able to save a little bit too, as Ryan Bell gets a 3-second time penalty. So a very neato strategy game here at the front of the field. Good to watch. Soft tyres, on they go, way to leave. A lot of drivers on those soft tyres getting ready to send it as Bell. There we go. He knows now at this point. The likelihood of a safety car is next to 0. So he's pulled the plug. It's a shame because he was fighting towards the front. Had that great sort of finish between himself and Humphries in the sprint. But Yeah, it's just something you really got to be alert to here at Qatar. You need a lot of extra fuel in the tank to make sure you can get to the end. Relatively speaking to all the other racetracks, as Blake gets a 3-second time penalty. CZK's coming in, so this is it. It's game on. Time for their final stops. Now Humphries, he's probably going to use a little bit of his battery that he saved up on this lap. At the moment, he's pretty comfortable not using it down the main straight. Soft tyres on. Oscar now in second position, going a bit longer on his mediums. I swear, we got Stevenson applying pressure to contrast. Find a way through. And the final corner, he should be able to make a pathway to get by eye contrast with the help of DRS. There we go. 12th place this is. Eye contrast down to 13th. Humphries has not used a single bit of his battery. So he's just going to try and carry these tyres to the end, perhaps? See what he does on this lap, eh? Not coming in. It looks like he's going to stay out on those mediums, go to the end. Oscar's doing the same. This is a bit more understandable because he was outside of the podium places before. He's going to risk it out as well. This time, this for second place. Clearly 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Bit of a split strategy for Mercedes. Got one out there, perhaps trying to survive on those mediums. We got the other hunting down the Alfa Romeo. Ferrari Pro getting by Matt Plevy. That's for P7. Yeah, an interesting little twist in terms of strategy then. Round turns 4 and 5 up towards turn 6. See how much closer McKay was in the bottom right of screen. He was so much closer to that white line. It's where you need to be. CZK was just a tad bit wide. But of course, being a little bit wider allows you to gather up more momentum at corner exit. Try and set up a better run onto the straightaway that follows the corner. Al trying desperately to hang on here. You should be able to do it pretty easily through this mid-sector. Ferrari Pro will not find a way through. It's Polly. Well, never mind. Seems the straight line speed in that Ferrari is pretty good, as well as the grip that it has. So yeah, these two, they're going to the end from here. Yellow's out. That's Matt. Puncture, puncture. Front right puncture. He's done 12 laps. And he's got a puncture. That's a big old message right there to everyone on mediums that are still out there. Matt Plevy, 12 laps in, has got a puncture. Out in front, we have got 4 laps to go. 4 long laps of Qatar. Was this a bit of a misinput when it came to the strategy? Is this going to blow up in Humphries and King's face? They got a ton of battery they can spend. They can splurge all of it. Especially down the straights. But they need to make sure those tyres last. And unfortunately, it's really down to the Codemaster gods to decide that. It really does feel like RNG. As soon as they hit 75%, it really just feels like it's up to the game. It doesn't really matter what you do. CZK, a 3-second time penalty. That may prove important in the context of this race, especially if something happens here to the top two. Still surviving on those mediums. Keeping them going. See now Humphrey's starting to use the battery a bit. His tyres are still inflated. Same with Oscar. Al's in. He couldn't make it. His tyres are still inflated, but he's not risking it. He's in. Tyres look good. They're still inflated. Same story with the Red Bull of Oscar King, who has actually closed the gap to the race leader. Are they actually going to duke it out on track on tyres that are literally falling to pieces? Around the racetrack where the tyre loads are so incredibly high, it's a big risk that these two have undertaken. They could have pitted. Humphreys could have pitted. He could have been battling with CZK and McKay right now, but he's elected to take a gamble. A big gamble. Will it pay off? Onto the main straightaway. Switching on the battery. Heading up towards the finish line. We have got 2 laps to go here at Qatar. They're still inflated. Contrast, 3 seconds. King's tyres look okay. The gap has shrunk to 9.9 seconds. McKay's on for a podium finish. And depending on what fate delivers, it might be a race win on the cards right here, right now. But he needs to keep it penalty free. Cannot afford to get one. Otherwise, he will have to duke it out with CZK for position. King has closed the gap to 1.3. Can the Red Bull driver just close in a little bit more? 1.2, 1.3. There's not much. Tyres are still good. Tyres still good. Bags Liddell, 3-second time penalty. Multiple warnings. Look away from the tyres. Look at the pens. Look at them all. They're everywhere. Everybody, near enough, everybody's got one. Oscar's tyres, they're still going. Humphrey's tyres, they're still going. Onto the main straightaway for the penultimate time. It all comes down to this then, the final 5.4 kilometres of this Qatar Grand Prix. 1 second separating the top two. Are we going to have an on-track battle? Right now we got a game of survival right here. As McKay moves through on CZK. He's not going to let the penalty do the talking. He's going to talk himself. And he moves himself up into P3. Ferrari Pro moves up into the top 5, into 5th position. King, 8.5 tenths behind. Humphreys hanging on to dear life. Round turn 7. Then the left of 8. There's King. It's not much. It's really not much. As Al sets a new fastest lap. 22.2 is the lap time. He's done. A wiggle. He runs wide. King runs wide. Costs himself a few tenths. That might be it. Unless fate has got something to say here. Out of turn 14 for the final time. Down towards turn 15. Those Pirellis have hung on brilliantly. No punctures for the top two. They're up against the wall, but both of them have survived. Only one can win here tonight, and that driver will be Jack Humphreys. He wins the Qatar Grand Prix. Oscar, home in second. A big gamble staying out on those tyres, but it worked. It earns him a podium finish, and McKay makes it a Mercedes 1-3. CZK finishes in 4th. Ferrari Pro 5th. T-Mac P6. Be happy with that, I'd imagine. Spicer home in 7th, followed by Jinbin. Bags Liddell. It'll be Blake Stevenson. crossing the line in 10th. He will not stay there though with the time penalties. He will be demoted down to P11. Big Al will finish in the top 10. Can you believe that? I reckon Matt Plevy's thinking, you can't be serious. His tyres let go. 12 laps in. Those two at the front. They did 16 lap stints, I think. 15, 16 lap stints. And they stayed inflated. Well, a gamble that paid off, particularly for the man in second. Brilliant drive from the man out front. Jack Humphreys wins the Qatar Grand Prix. Takes the sweep here at Losail. P2 to Oscar King. P3 to Riley McKay. So, the unofficial results then of the Qatar Grand Prix. Jack Humphreys is your race winner by 0.6 of a second to Oscar King in P2. Riley McKay finishes third, making it a Mercedes 1-3. CZK finishes fourth, followed by Ferrari Pro, who completes the top 5. Then we have T-Mac, followed by Spicer, Jinbin, Liddell. Big Al rounds out the top 10 with fastest lap. Blake Stevenson finishes P11, in front of By Contrast in 12th. Behind him is Apollo Pepsi, then Matt Plevy got a puncture in the race that ultimately meant he would finish in 14th. Ryan Bell retired from the race due to fuel issues. Ultimately put him on the back foot right at the beginning of the race. There was very little he could do, so understandably he retired out of the Grand Prix. What a fascinating little event that was. He had a dramatic finish in the sprint and an equally dramatic finish in the main race, but for two very different reasons. Oh, that was good fun though. I enjoyed doing that. Qatar proving to be a dramatic racetrack. More than anything else. Don't mind bits and pieces of drama. I think, folks, everything's said and done. Now time for us to end the stream. Congratulations to our top 3. Well done to Mr. Humphreys for winning the Qatar Grand Prix. No, an interesting little event that was. I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you everyone so much for watching. We'll see you next week for round 9 of the championship at the Hungaroring. For the Hungarian Grand Prix. That's bound to be quite exciting too. Don't underestimate Budapest. It often turns out to be a pretty entertaining race. So I'm looking forward to next week. Until then, it's goodbye.